All right, so this next section is 4.3. It's my favorite, but it's all about being able to see the pattern. So that's what's kind of rough. Okay, so first of all, in 4.3, we take one log, like one word, L-O-G, and inside the parentheses, there will be a couple of things happening, and we have to expand it so that we have a log for every piece. Like for this part B, we need to expand it so that there's a log for the X and a log for the 100. It's kind of like distributing, only there's some special rules. So one of the rules is if you have something being multiplied using the product rule, it changes to addition. If something's being divided, it changes to subtraction. If something has an exponent in the air, the exponent comes down in front. So those are our three main rules when we're talking about logarithms. If we have a multiply, it goes to a plus. If it has a divide, it goes to a minus. If it has an exponent, it becomes a coefficient in front. Okay, so these are our three basic rules. There's a couple of other things that you kind of have to remember, but other than that, these are the three basic rules. So let's look at part A. The first thing we do is figure out which rule we're going to use. Well, we have multiplication. So to expand this multiplication is going to become a plus sign. And then to expand it, we're going to put a log before 8 before the plus sign. So log before 8. And then plus, now log before 3. Log before 3. And hey, we just expanded it. We took that 8 times 3 and we split it into 2 logs. And the log before goes on both. So it's kind of like distributing, only you have to know that this multiply sign goes to a plus sign. Okay, let's look at the next sucker. Well, first off, we have to figure out whether we have a multiply, divide, or an exponent. Well, out of 100,000 x, that's like 100,000 multiply x. So that multiply is going to become a plus. Now it's like we're going to distribute. We're going to say log of 100,000 and then log of x after this plus sign. So log of 100,000 and then log x after that plus sign. Okay, then in the directions, it said expand and evaluate. So I expanded it. Now we have to do that thing from 4.2, which says evaluate, which is where you put a tiny 10 in the subscript because there is no subscript here. And then you change this 100,000 to 10 to the something. So this 100,000 is 10 to the 5th. So in our calculator, if we type 10 to the 5th, we're going to get 100,000. Okay, so in the previous section, we learned that if you have log subscript 10, big 10 to the 5th equals something, this is like saying bay, where you rewrite it as 10 to the something equals 10 to the 5th. And then the only way to make this left side looks like this right side is that that box is also a 5. Okay, so we just evaluated this log 10 to the 5th. It's just 5. Yeah, so this log 10 to the 5th, it's just a 5. And then we still have plus sign log x. So you can only evaluate when you can rewrite your number as the base with another exponent. So this 100,000 could be rewritten as the base 10 with another exponent. Okay, let's look at part B. First, we decide whether we have multiply, divide, or an exponent. And I have divide. So that divide sign is going to go to a minus. So now we distribute. It's kind of like you have log x, then a minus sign because that division turns into a minus, then log 100. Okay, then we can evaluate because this log 100, that's the same thing as having a pretend 10 in the subscript, and 100 is the same thing as 10 squared. So when there is no subscript, you put a baby 10 down there. And then this 100 can be rewritten as 10 squared. And then all that cancels to just a 2. Just like on the last example, all that canceled with the 100,000 and we just got the exponent 5. Same thing here. So we have log x. Then the log 10 cancels and we just have a big fat minus 2. Okay, let's look at the next one. I see division. So this division is definitely going to go to a minus. And I also see an exponent 8. That's going to become a coefficient. Okay, so let's see here. First, we're going to have ln e minus ln the bottom. So ln e minus ln the bottom, 4. I have not touched that 8 yet. So that's just like what we did on part B, where we said log of the top, x, minus log of the bottom, log of 100. Same thing here, log of e minus log of 4. Okay, then the coefficient of this 8 goes in front of the ln with the e on it. So this is my ln with the e on it. So I'm going to put the 8 in front. That's the rule that says if you have an exponent, it's called the power rule. It's the exponent rule where if you have an exponent, it comes down in front. Okay, then let's see if I can evaluate. Well, what in the world is the subscript of a ln? Well, in the last section we learned it's a e. Okay. And then there's a trick that ln e always canceled. Kind of like that log 10 canceled. Same thing for s. ln e cancels. And we just get 8 minus ln 4. And I think when you type that in your calculator, in your homework, put lowercase, and I think you have to wait for it to turn bold. So try and get it to become bold when you type in that ln in your homework. Okay, for the next one, I don't see any multiply, I don't see a divide, but I do see an exponent. And an exponent always becomes a coefficient. So I'm still going to have log of p, but that exponent, -3, is now in front. And that's it. So these are not, we're not getting x equals 2, x equals 1. We're just moving them around according to the rules. Okay, let's look at this next sucker. I see an exponent, so that's going to become a coefficient, like something in front of the log, like 5 log. Then what are those x and y's doing to each other? They are multiplying. So let's split them. We're going to distribute. It's kind of like log cx. So log cx. But that x had a 5 exponent. And there's the rule that says the 5 exponent comes down in front to make a coefficient. Then that multiply sign in between the x and the y becomes a plus. And then we include log c, and now whatever else was in that parentheses, y. And then you can only evaluate if you have the same number in the subscript and big and normal, like we did on parts B, B, and C. Oh, I had 2 B's. But we don't have the same big and little number. We have a letter, C and X, so those can't cancel to evaluate. Okay, let's look at part F. Oh, this is a lot. Okay, first off, I see some coefficients, or I see some exponents, so those are going to become coefficients, the 7 and the 6. Next, I see that division bar is going to become a minus. Then there's a multiply in between the N and the P, and that multiply is going to become a plus. And then lastly, this square root N has an exponent. It has an exponent of 1/2, and he is going to become the coefficient. So if we had a 3 in that crook, it would be 1/3. If we had a 4 in that crook, it would be 1/4. Okay, so now let's split this. Let's distribute left to right, top to bottom. Log M N, so log with a little subscript M and a big old N. And his exponent was 1/2, but it's going to become a coefficient in front, so 1/2 log M N. Then that multiply sign becomes a plus, and we do the same thing, distribute the log M. So we have log MP with the coefficient 6 in front, from the P to the 6th. Then the division turns to minus, and we distribute again, log MQ. And he had an exponent 7 that now becomes a coefficient in front. And hey, baby, we're done. If any of these letters were the same, like MM, PP, QQ, we could evaluate.